DFO wants to shut all of the west coast down, especially zeroing in on Nitnat and Port Renfrew. And there was other areas. But to close it to fishing. So that was pretty scary. Like people here before me included too. People make reservations to go fishing. They come from afar, some of them, and they do that a year ahead of time. Well, all of a sudden I'm saddled with this, they want to close it. And we're supposed to be open in a couple of months. So what happened, he's Pat Hearn, he was very good, and he says, what we got to come through with is what could we get by with bare minimum fishery to stay there. You got to remember, they don't turn for this closure. So I made a few calls, and I knew the area well anyway, from Nitnat to Renfrew. And they give us this map that showed hot spots of where the killer whales are. You got to remember, at this time, I don't think anybody knew the bloody difference between a resident killer whale and a transient killer whale. And that includes some of the people that did the studies. So, and I'm sure you all the same like me, you know, to this day, we can't tell the difference between these whales. But the emphasis was put on southern resident killer whales. So, fine, that's what we had to work with. So I come up with a plan if we could have a shoreline fishery from Port Renfrew up to Nitnat for Chinook, especially as what we're targeting. Chinook, well, we could probably live with that for summer. But keeping in mind, you know, along come the sockeye, and they're deep water, they like deep water. So you wouldn't catch very many in the shoreline fishery. So we designed an area. It goes, for those of you that know the area, it goes from about Camper up to Carmana, and it goes out 4 miles. That would entitle us to get to deep water to fish not only sockeye, but coho and pinks. Pinks like deep water too. So this is how it came to be. Now there was no negotiations here with this. This is a one-time deal back to DFO. You got to remember where it come from in DFO now. Didn't come from stock assessment, science, or any of those departments. It came straight from Ottawa. And that was the parliamentary cabinet, to the fisheries minister, to our regional director general at the time, do something to save the killer whales, loud and clear. So she appointed upper management person, Neil Davis, and this is what he'd come up with, was these closures. This is how fast. And here I am by myself, and I'm thinking, how the hell can I stand up to all these people so we can get a fishery? But anyway, we did it. So there was no negotiations or anything. I took a chance, and they accepted that plan for shoreline fishery in 4 miles. So now you know how that came to be. And it wasn't going too bad, actually. The only bad thing was they're letting the rest of the world know we're close to Chinook fishing outside of those areas, which was not good press. But we were getting by, and then all of a sudden they come at us again with other measures. It was just non-stop here. The time, now they coordinated that with Upper Fraser Chinook measures. In other words, you can't keep a Chinook until, I believe it was May or June, now it's July the 15th, of course. So they coordinated with that no salmon fishing. They're big on it. Now that included Swiftsure Bank, where a lot of the guys make their living. You know, they're service providers, these guys, and it affects a lot of them. Not just lodges, but accommodations, restaurants, all kinds of things. So that really impacted us. They wanted to have more closures, and I thought, holy cow, this is never ending. And then what did they do? The last thing, we're closing all of Area 21 down to salmon fishing after July the 15th. The whole area. I mean, we're talking 100 square miles of area closed. Keeping in mind, they're going by studies from biologists they picked to study these killer whales. And I challenged some of those studies, and other people did too. They didn't go to Andrew Trites and ask him what he thought. He's a fisheries biologist. Because his idea was it wouldn't matter what the recreation fishery does, it's not going to make any difference to the southern and killer whales. In the meantime, right across our border, we're only 7 miles from it, there's the Americans, Washington State, no salmon fishing closures at all. Just an avoidance distance. So the SFAB, we have a committee, and we went to town on that and agreed that we should have a more distant avoidance measure. And just lately, that was DFO come up with, instead of 400 meters, it's 1,000 meters. That all sounds fine and dandy. You know, if you're fishing in calm waters like Brentwood or something, you can see that far. But what I get a kick out of, these killer whales come, and 2-foot grounds, say a 2-foot wind chop, 6-foot ground swell, you can't see bloody things 50 yards away. So the idea is good, I don't deny that, but I'm hoping enforcement is going to show a little discretion with that one. We're going to be able to see them first. So there's where we're at. We agreed with the avoidance thing and the distance. We agreed to that, and noise was the other big thing. I mean, as if your little engine 9.9 makes more noise than a big freighter going by. I mean, you're getting a break here. But we agreed for the acoustic disturbance thing. And so there's where we're at today. Now they come out with 3 proposals. This is throwing at us again, short notice. We won't know for a month or 2 what's going to happen to that. 3 proposals. Now there's status quo. And what we put a motion forward in the SFAB, come out of our committee. That is to have a shoreline fishery in Area 21, that's that, out to the 20-meter depth. So that's about 60 feet between the rockfish closures, east and west. And that way, that actually was our traditional, use that word traditional, Chinook fishing area in that now go back 40, 50 years. So that we proposed that as an amendment to the existing regulations. You know, hopefully we get that, but at least we're trying. As far as the rest of it, I mean, there's miles of country flows down to salmon fishing in Area 21 on the Swiftshore Bank, and a small 2-mile corridor for our guide boats to fish in there to try to make a living. We're right there on the other side of the border, Washington, that's wide open fishing, including the native troll fishery that takes upwards of 40,000 Chinook a year out of it. So this is what we're trying to work with. It's not good, not a good scenario. Now in the meantime, I was in contact with a research vessel that works out of Port Renfrew. And they're good. These guys are good. They're right on top of it. Good scientific equipment. When they see a killer whale out there, they take a picture of it. It's immediately sent to Vancouver, and they decipher if it's a resident killer whale or a transient, or they even know all the pods, everything, good stuff. So I asked them, I said, well, how many resident killer whales did you see? This is last summer. And this was by the end of August, we're moving into September. So how many did you count in our area that's going to be closed? Not one. Not one southern resident killer whale. So months later, DFO wasn't the fastest part in the world, but anyway, it comes out with...
Keep the mic up to your mouth, okay?
Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
So what happened with that is they come out with a graph acknowledging the killer whales aren't in the same area they were the previous years. They move around. So all those measures we put in place on the West Coast mean nothing because there's no killer whales there. So plus the fact is, can you identify the difference between killer whales? But this research boat is good. It goes all the way to Nitnap, outside of Archery Sound, down to Sioux. And that's where we are today. We're still fighting the battle, and we hope they'll listen to us in Ottawa. Some of these measures, they're just not working. Yet it's crippled. It's actually crippled our community of Port Renfrew. I, for one, have lost 75% of our business. People will not come and book a cabin, for example, unless they know they can keep a fish. So this is what we're up against. But thanks to you people that turned out today, I'll give you the